Okay, it's 8:02, traditionally late, and you are listening to or watching live, hopefully, Runchatlive episode 51. We had the 50th birthday last week with Dr. Guillaume Millet, which has had some really good feedback. I'm pleased to hear, excuse me, from the ultra running community in particular. Sorry. Thank you for everybody who sent some emails. There was more than normal, actually. I'm pleased because the runners actually really got onto it. Ultra runners tend to be a bit geeky anyway because they just do incredibly ridiculous ultra endurance things. So they kind of keep their ear a little bit close to the ground when it comes to advice and evidence from the greats. So my thanks once again to Guillaume Millet. If you want to catch up with that, obviously it's on YouTube, like all episodes of Runchatlive are, or if you prefer just to listen to it, although there are some diagrams on that particular episode, so there is a lot of value of watching the YouTube video. But if you prefer to get your Runchatlive audio, Lee, then it's podcast and all the normal apps. You can listen to us there as well. Right, so tonight episode 51 is going to be all about massage. It's going to be really significant for runners as well, again, but also to therapists, particularly therapists who have learned maybe off a traditional course. A lot of courses are still taught with a lot of things which are a little bit dubious, to say the least. It's very slow to change around. The industry is a little bit kind of stuck in time in certain places. So I'm hoping that there will be some eye-opening bombshells, to say the least, tonight for both therapists and runners. Before I do, I need to say thank you to my sponsors. Does anybody know what LMI is? I've only discovered this morning what LMI is, and I know that it smells absolutely incredible because, yes, I've got a new one from the Brighton Beard Company who sponsored this podcast. That is LMI, apparently. It's a Filipino tree called Canarium luzonicumus, if you want to kind of hear the proper word for it. And it's, the oleo resin harvested from the tree is a limai, and it smells absolutely amazing, mixed with sandalwood and a bit of lavender as well. Let me just plug myself in here because otherwise my computer's going to go off. It smells absolutely incredible. It's been a while since I've done this online. I always thought I was going to be, what was I normally? A sandalwood and mandarin type of guy. But this, yeah. There we go. It's my new favorite. And I'm not just saying that. I went for a 5K run today. And if you've got a beard, you'll appreciate it. If you don't, then you won't, because you don't know what it's like. But even when you're running and it feels great anyway. But imagine you're feeling great. And also you've got this waft of elamite, of all things, going up your nostrils. It's beautiful. I totally recommend it. People with beards will know what I'm talking about. And if you're looking for a new scent, or if you're looking to buy your fellow a new scent, then, or anybody you're with who happens to have a beard, then this is the one. I'll still get my plug for my laptop. I'm going to run out of battery very quickly. So tonight is going to be all about very much putting the evidence back in. And I'm very pleased to bring you somebody who, basically, she's going to be a speaker at Runchatlive this year online, because last year at Runchatlive conference 2019, rightfully so, one of the criticisms I got, and there's nothing wrong with criticism, we'll be talking about that later on, is, Matt, you've got 10 world-class therapists up there, fantastic. You've got physios, you've got osteos, you've got podiatrists, you've got strength and conditioning coaches. Well done, well done. Why the hell haven't you got a massage therapist? And I was kind of caught a little bit off guard. I was like, yeah, we're all up here going, oh, fascia this and massage that and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't actually invite a massage therapist to stand on the stage and actually present information on behalf of a massage therapist. So, and there were some quite heated debates at one point between the Physio Matters podcast team and a few podiatrists who are very into their fascial cross-friction rubbing. And it all got a bit stormy. So I made a point of saying, right, you want a massage therapist in 2020? Let me just plug this in. You're going to have a massage therapist for 2020. And I already knew in the back of my mind exactly who that was going to be, because I followed Alice Sanvito for probably about 4 or 5 years now, via Paul Ingram, via a few people have mentioned her basically online, because in the forums, and the reason we've had a laugh because of internationally acclaimed, Alice, in true modest sense, all my speakers are very modest, says internationally acclaimed. But if you're celebrated in different countries around the world, whether it's online or in person, you are internationally acclaimed, and Alice certainly is. not only because of her kind of hashtag shit that massage therapists say. Obviously a hashtag like that is going to be celebrated. It's a universal world, isn't it? So that's one of the things which made me snigger and think I've got to follow this woman more. She's got some great stuff. So I'm really happy to say that Alice is going to be with us in 2020 online. It's such a shame. I was really looking forward to meeting Alice in person, but it can't happen this year because of a certain virus, which we just won't keep talking about. But she will be with us online for Runchatlive Conference 2020, along with the other 9 speakers. So I have got a massage therapist. It might not be everything that massage therapists wanted to hear, but I never said that. I just said, I'll get you a massage therapist. So I'm really pleased about that. So yes, Brighton Beer Company, there we go. If you do go to Brighton Beer Company, then make sure you use the discount RCL15. Let's make sure you can see that. And you'll get 15% off things like sandalwood, elamite, and lavender. It's such a good smell. There you go. Right. So I think I just want to say hello to the running community. Alan Strock, I can see the name screaming out there from the page. Hi, Alan. How you doing? Being a sports massage virgin. Well, there we go. We're now, I know you can say virgin, can't you? There's nothing wrong with that. I thought YouTube would now flag me out for inappropriate language, but there's nothing wrong with virgin at all. Thank you, Alan, for that. Being a sports massage virgin. So you've got as far as you have in your running endeavors and never had a sports massage. Or are you saying sports massage in contrast to some other type of massage? This will be interesting to hear. If any of you have got comments, particularly in the runners community, because Runchatlive is all about reaching runners, then please hit them up and I can put them on the screen like that. You get your photo and everything, so make sure you're looking nice in your photo. Who else have we got in the house already? Matt Scarsbrook is in here. I'm going to mention Matt later on because he's got a fantastic new podcast coming out, which I won't go into now, but we will mention Matt at the end. I was planning to do that. Sarah Jones, how are you doing? Nice to see you here. Danielle Chandler as well is in the house. Thank you for joining us, Danielle. Tristan Attenborough, yo, hey, good. And also Timothy Grigg. We got, what did you say there, Timothy? Different Facebook Live to STA, same beautiful beard. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Do you know why it's beautiful? Because of the Brighton Beard Company, particularly the sandalwood, elemi, and lavender balm. That's why, mate. That's why it's not natural. It's very cared for and groomed with fantastic essences and products from the Brighton Beer Company.co.uk. Thanks, Timothy. How you doing? Thank you. Nice to see you here. Chris Kitson's in the house as well, which is the absolute opposite to Beers, because I've never seen a more smooth, youthful looking person. And also, talking of smooth and youthful, we've got Vanessa Belton as well is here. Morning from New Zealand. I'm a massage regular. As in you give massages kind of okay, or you have massages yourself? Everybody in the house, let the questions fly. I'm really, really pleased to bring you Alice Sanvito, who will be ready to answer all your questions. There we go.
Okay.
How are you doing?
We're live.
Internationally acclaimed.
Hey, so I have my let me see here. I'm trying to get used. I have my pooper scooper for cleaning up shit and a little glass. So we should have fun. Clean up shit and
so cheers. Yeah. Cheers. Yes, I've got my Argentinian Malbec. Cheers. I don't think in 51 episodes I've ever had a guest who has been holding a pooper scooper. That's probably the first time. So that's the first of many different things happening tonight.
Well, some of them are producing shit. Probably the people you have, but
it's fantastic. You actually took that scoop along, didn't you? Didn't you take that scoop along to some presentation, or have you to a few presentations?
The first time I gave a presentation on shit massage therapists say this was how I dressed. And yes, the tiara and pooper scooper and hippie blouse, and my hair was nice and purple, and yeah, because I wanted to have fun with it, and I knew I was going to upset some people, and so I thought, might as well be lighthearted about it, and I actually gave them permission to throw things at me, just nothing heavy or pointed or sharp, but if they wanted to wad up paper and throw it at me, they had permission to do that. Nobody did. I was afraid that if I said shit, that some people would be offended, but I didn't want to inhibit myself. So I said that for every time I said shit, I would donate a quarter to the Massage Therapy Foundation, and I had somebody keep score. And it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was only $9.75, so I made it $20. And Jason Erickson kicked in $20, and
Oh, wow.
we made a thing out of that, presenting the check and mailed it out. So that's the thing is people get very upset in reading. The nice thing about online discussions is we don't have to be separated by space and time, which I love. But there's this phenomena where people will read the worst intentions. There's a lot of discussions. We waste so much time talking about tone, and I'm like, this is just information. There's no emotional language in there. And you know, in real life, I'm lighthearted and playful, and let's have fun with this, you know. And I've been upset too. I mean, I've been through some real crises in my life, so I have a lot of compassion. But why should information piss us off? I mean, I don't know.
It's a good way to start the show.
Understand.
It's good because the reaction, particularly massage therapists, is either anger when they hear something like, you know, you're not actually breaking down scar tissue. However you phrase it, often the initial reaction is, what are you doing? Well, if I'm not doing that, that's my career down the drain. You know, so it's kind of like, it's good to pre-warn them and have something humorous or something like, you know, I'm a normal human being. You know, I might be saying things which are going to annoy you, but we can talk about it. You know, no one's got to get angry. We're just going to evolve together. So it's good. That's good, good.
Yeah.
And who can argue with somebody wearing purple and a tiara anyway? It's ridiculous.
Talking
of purple and tiaras, I'm sure I've seen Adam Meekins, who is in the house in a tiara before. No, he turned up at San Diego Pain. He turned up in like a white robe, didn't he? And like flip flop.
That was Ben Cormick's class, and he showed up and in the back in his bathrobe, and
I remember the photos. Yeah, so two-piece from a pod, you two, in terms of, just get the audience in his side. Hey, Adam, thanks for joining us. He said, hey, Alice, give us a finger. Well, there you go.
It's not for you. We're giving bullshit.
51 episodes with no swearing, no profanities, no sign language. It's all going out the window now.
We're done with that. No.
I'm no longer a family-friendly show.
With Adam Meekins and giving the finger to the word, or here I could just do it really, you know, demurely. That was my idea. So just for the record.
Okay. Let's move on to okay, now let's construction. You used to work in construction. I can imagine you working in all sorts of careers.
So it shows. Yeah.
How did massage start there? Because you've been doing it for quite a few years. How did you get into it?
28 until this, you know, virus hit.
You must have started very young.
So I was in for 13 years, and I had enough of it for this lifetime, and wanted to make a change, and didn't know what I wanted to do next. And I had been into kind of getting and giving massages just with friends and family, and in fact, some friends of mine and I had a once a month pie and massage club where 4 or 5 of us would get together, and we would take turns, and each person would get 15 minutes, and you'd have like 4 people, you know, 1 person on each leg, and 1 on your back and 1 on your head, and then each time someone was responsible for making pie, and so everybody would get a turn, and then we would have pie. So I had an interest on an amateur level, and just got this idea that maybe I could be good at it and support myself, and that's what I did.
And when did because one of the things I love about you and all my guests is the ability to actually criticize yourself and your own profession. It's amazing when you're helping other people. If you can criticize what you've done and shown how you've evolved. Yeah. When did that all start for you? How long were you practicing and doing things which now you might question before you suddenly read something, or how did it work out?
Well, when I went to school, I knew that a lot of what I was being taught was stupid, you know. Some of it was really off the wall, but my teacher, a I'll give her credit for that. She gave us a good foundation in anatomy and physiology. And in those days, a lot of massage therapists were downright opposed to learning it because they thought it would ruin their intuition. But I started in 91, and then in 92 or 3, pretty early, I started studying NMT, neuromuscular therapy. And in 94, I started assisting with that. And the first experience I remember is one of the instructors telling us that massage didn't do anything for lactic acid, and that lactic acid wasn't even what made you sore. And, you know, my first reaction was, whoa. And then I went, oh, well, who cares? I'm not running a lactic acid removal business, you know? So people feel good, fine.
Do you remember, out of interest,
But-
sorry to interrupt, but do you remember what year that would have been, or is that a tricky question? Because the lactic acid thing's been going around.
About 95. I'm guessing about 95.
That early. So that was quite early. Respect to whoever told you that.
Yeah.
Oh.
This guy, his name's Don Kelly, and I've lost touch with him. He was an amazing instructor, would challenge you. You know, you would say something and just would say, well, where did you get that information? You know, and well, what about this? And he didn't mind being challenged. So I had this great freedom to ask questions. And I came from kind of a science background. My dad was an engineer, and from my early to mid 20s, a lot of my friends were research scientists because I lived really close to a major research hospital. And so I was used to having those kind of discussions, you know, it just was normal to me. The first crack was, I was very steeped in the trigger point stuff, assisted at that for 10 years. And when they came out with the second edition of Volume 1, they had to revise the hypotheses because it didn't hold up. And the revised hypotheses, I looked at it and I saw some obvious flaws. And I'm not a science major, you know, but it was so obvious to me. And I told the instructor, and he said, "You're right, and that's the best we've got for now." I'm like, okay. But it was about 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, I encountered Paul Ingram and Raven Star-Trevelyan and Chris Moyer, Bodie Harrelson online. In my mind, they were the Fab Four. And they started saying some stuff, and it set the bar a lot higher for me. You know, because up until then, I thought I was science-minded, but my world was so small that within it, I was, but not as much as I thought. And they just very nicely would correct me or confront me. And I was taken aback, you know, and at a point I was like, you guys, I can't say anything in front. And then it was when Diane Jacobs came out with this doubt about trigger points, and I kind of bottomed out. One of the things I've noticed is you can learn something and then forget it, or notice something and then forget it, because nobody around you is reinforcing it. And it was like the bottom fell out. There were a few days, because little bit by little bit, they were all chipping away at some ideas I had. There were about 3 days I went to work. I felt like a total and complete fraud. I thought it's quite possible that absolutely everything I think I know is wrong. And I have no idea what I'm doing. And I have to act like I do. And so I would go to work and I would just do what I usually did. And after about 3 days, I realized, well, people get up and they're happy and they feel good. So obviously something I'm doing is okay. And I came to realize that what I was doing with my hands was okay. It was how I was thinking about it that needed to change. And that's an important, a real foundational thing to understand that a lot of massage therapists don't. If they find out they're not really stretching fascia or breaking up scar tissue, they're like, well, then are you saying that everything I've ever done is wrong? It's like, no, what you're doing may be okay. It's just how we think about it. But that was, yeah, I almost quit. I mean, I really almost quit. And Paul Ingram, who was one of the catalysts for this crisis, said, don't quit now. And I'm glad I did. I hung in there. And I finally decided to try to give up all my assumptions and start from scratch and just go, what do I know for sure, really? And it came down to, well, I'm really good at making people feel good, and some people with pain. I seem to be able to help them have less pain. And I thought, if that's all I can say for the rest of my career, that's not a bad place to be.
Brilliant.
So I make very few claims. Very, very few. And it has not hurt my practice. And I feel liberated because I'm not attached to a particular explanation. Like if I woke up tomorrow and found out everything I thought about what I was doing was wrong, I could still do it. It's like I've gotten comfortable with that. So if I could give anything to massage therapists, it would be that. Because once you have that, then you just build from there. And it's just this constant exploration, and we have this saying, in science, you can never be completely right, but you can hope over time to get less wrong.
Perfect.
And I think that's also a good attitude to have, because it acknowledges that not knowing, not being too sure of yourself. So anyway, not a simple question, but it's a journey,
Oh, without a doubt. And what you said is, I mean, obviously you are just feeding my confirmation biases. I am lapping up everything you're saying because I know about it and I've read about it, and it's lovely. I feel absolutely incredible. But there's really important points there, because I'm aware, and I hope that kind of one thing Runchatlive is conscious of all the time with all the speakers is that, like you said, people can get, therapists can get really down if you've got these people slowly chipping away at you. And even like Paul Ingram's style of talking is really quite pleasant. He's a little bit sarcastic, but there's always humor in there. It's not like capital letters, you are wrong, you're useless, you're a joke. Not at all, because he's the first one to dismiss himself and what he did wrong. So, no. But eventually it gets to then. You had 3 days. But what you said was beautiful, because it's us who are really obsessed with what's going on underneath, and it's important. I think it was Paul Ingram who I read, if you know how something works, you can make it work better. I'm pretty sure it comes from one of his many online blogs and things. But if the patient is walking away feeling much better, and you can pretty much be sure that it's not just natural history because you're slapping them with a wet fish for 6 weeks and they're going to get better anyway. If you're doing something which you can kind of tie in, then great. It's the therapist who needs to sort out what's going on here and not suddenly feel, I just need to quit. So I'm hoping, I don't think there's anyone in the room who is a brand new therapist. The people I've seen so far are probably on the same page as us, but there's also some great educators in here as well, like Mike Grice, Matt Scarsbrook, obviously Adam Meekins. Adam Meekins uses slightly different ways of getting the point across to people sometimes. But even Adam Meekins, now and again, has got a softer side, and he does kind of say, look.
Adam Meekins is with us?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Sorry.
Yeah, Adam's still in here.
The thing that you said, it struck another thought. There's kind of these two different ends of this A spectrum, which is people get very attached to their explanation, but then conversely they go, well, then why does it matter, what our explanation is? And when you said about Paul saying, if you understand how something works, you can help make it work better, that's important. First of all, I think we have an ethical obligation. And I had this notoriety. I started collecting shit that massage therapists say because people didn't believe me. I mean, some of the stuff is just so egregious. It's like, whoa. But then some people will say, well, I don't care how it works. And we're professionals. We're not amateurs. And we should understand. I mean, can you imagine if you went to your doctor and he said, well, I don't understand how this surgery works, but I'm just going to do it anyway. It's like, would you trust them? But here's the thing. We don't want to do any harm. And if we don't understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, there's that potential. But this is something that the first time I did this caught people's attention. I told them a client cannot give informed consent if we don't give them accurate information. And that caught people's attention because I really believe that most massage therapists are well-intentioned. And later, some people came up to me and said, you know, you really made me think maybe I should be a little more careful about what I say. And I thought, you know, that's the best possible outcome, because I can't dispel every bit of misinformation out there, because it's like whack-a-mole. You knock down one and three more pop up. But if people can learn to think and cultivate their critical thinking skills and learn how to find good, reliable sources of information and be open to having discussions and not be afraid to wrestle with those questions, that's the thing, because there is no final answer. It's this ongoing thing. Like Jason Silvernail, you know, said, you know, at a point, he did this great presentation at the first San Diego Pain Summit called Crossing the Chasm, and I really recommend it. They said, you know, in the beginning, I thought it was like this, like crossing this bridge over this big gorge. He said, and then I realized it was more like this. And he had this image of this big, long, craggy canyon. And he said, what you really need is not a bridge, but a GPS, a way to guide you.
That's a nice way of looking at it.
And some of this stuff, yeah, it you know, I'm somebody who thinks about stuff and a lot, and I'm amazed sometimes that I realize here's this idea that I've had for 20 years that seemed reasonable. And then I look at some I learned about physiology over here, and something I also learned was told over here, and I never noticed they don't match up. You know, like, so I have a lot of compassion for people who are struggling with it. And I really invite anybody who's struggling and feeling discouraged. I'm not as active. Ever since virus, I've been very shut down about massage. I'm kind of getting more interested, but feel free to message me. I might not notice it for a while, but you know, somebody who needs some reassurance, I've been through it, and there's lots of people who have. You know,
okay.
Just have some humility. It's the people who come at you that say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I know this. And well, I know that I'm doing this because my clients tell me. And it's like, those are the people I'm.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
What is the best way for people to contact you? I normally do this at the end, but now you've mentioned it. If somebody does want to talk to you and learn more, then what's the best way to contact you?
I really think on Facebook, the messages on Facebook, and I try to remember to check the message requests, because if we're not already connected, I might not see it. So be patient, or if you know somebody who you know knows me, tell them to send me a message, say, hey, pay attention. But that's probably the easiest.
Right, we've got a few people in the book. Adam Meekins has just kind of said he's just misunderstood. That's all. Adam's teaching method. So that's a fair comment from you, Adam. Totally misunderstood. Matt Scarsbrook has said, hi, Alice. I'm gutted we're not able to meet face-to-face at RCL. We'll have to take a rain check on the beer. I know, it's such a shame. It is such a shame.
So is Adam with us?
Adam's confused. In the room.
Is he? He?
You can't see him. He's just watching. No. Cut. Pull the plug. Watch this.
He
Look,
does. I mean it affectionately. You know, it's a term of endearment.
I've always loved on YouTube where it says, is this video made for kids? I've just gone, yeah, it's made for kids. There's nothing in here which could potentially be not anymore. Anyway, so Adam is here, and he's probably rolling around in his chair, laughing his little bearded face off now at the moment.
Oh, to all of you.
Matt Scarsbrook, I know you've chatted with Matt, and he really wants to meet you as well down in Brighton, but obviously can't happen this year, hopefully in the years to come. Jamie Gargett, the first of our questions is coming here. Okay, so playing devil's advocate. Good one, Jamie. It's always good to play devil's advocate. What can we say?
Karen Kowal is a local. She's a wonderful woman.
Oh, fantastic. What is, Jamie asks, what can we say is the benefit of sports massage? Silence.
I had an answer to this, but I forgot it.
Where's the basic?
You know,
What do we know about massage? What do we know? What does work?
You wanted me to do this presentation about the science of sports massage, and I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. You know. What? No, I actually believe in it, and I've worked with a lot of athletes, runners and bicyclists and swimmers in particular. I somewhere there's an answer, but I got to find it. Before the program, we were talking a little bit about DOMs, and this is one of the places where one of the questions that plagues me is on those, for me, rare occasions when there seems to be a conflict between what the science is telling us and some experience. I don't know how to reconcile them, and I don't make claims, but DOMS is a good example that I know there's been some research that said massage didn't really do anything for it, and yet I have marathon runners and bike racers and all that kind of stuff who the next day after a really intense race or marathon, whatever, will come in and they feel better. So what exactly is going on? I don't know. And and here's a problem. We don't have much evidence. So this is where I have to start relying on anecdote. When I've worked with people pre-event, like one of the bike racers I was working with is a little bit older guy, and it was at practice races, and they always would come after. And one day I convinced this guy to come before and just did a little bit of stuff on him. And he went and raced in this one race and then was in the second one, but not racing for real. And later I asked him how that experience was. And he said, well, about halfway through the second race, I started getting kind of fatigued and a little, things got challenging. And I said, well, when does it usually hit you? And he said, at the beginning of the second race. I'm like, okay, so you got a little further into it before you started getting fatigued. So, and then I've worked a lot with people in between times with injuries. We don't have a lot of evidence. That is the problem. Mostly what we've got is anecdote. But worked with a marathon runner for 2.5 years, really regularly. And his goal was to qualify for the Olympic trials, and he kept records. And until he started working with me, he regularly, every few months was pulling a hamstring and having to take a week or two off. And in the 2.5 years I worked with him, he had 2 minor hamstring pulls that he got over with really quickly. And he was running more. He shaved several minutes off his 10K time, and after about 6 months. So, yeah, and it I don't know if we can make any claims. What the athletes I work does seem to help them get over feeling achy. It helps them in recovering injuries. I don't make any claims. I just don't make any claims.
It's a good answer. Best answer.
And
I think what we do know, you mentioned Christopher Moy, didn't you? And I think I read him in the past has said the only evidence we really do have for massage in terms of what the evidence is pretty strong is to help with emotional things like anxiety and depression. The data is pretty good on that. So he's kind of suggested that what we need to do is kind of just get past all this stuff, which is very unlikely to be true, like we're breaking down and all this cross-fiction and stuff, and just work with the emotional side of it, because it's all in your. If we know that it works and can change people's emotions on a heavy level, not just making people relax, because you don't want to pay $40 an hour to be relaxed. There's far cheaper ways of doing that. But if you can really change someone's psyche, then that's the avenue he thinks we should just be exploring now, because that would explain. We know that the nervous system is very much a regulator in pain output and recovery and performance and fatigue. So that's what we're doing, isn't it? We just don't quite know how yet enough to perfect it. Is that fair enough to say?
And the marathon runner, he told me one time that his mental state, he was very aware early on that his mental state had a profound effect. He said, you know, like if I just had a fight with my girlfriend, I'm just not going to run well. And so helping people, you know, we don't know a whole lot about what's going on physiologically. But Moyer, what he said is he thinks that all these other little details that we try to look at probably all stem from the same mechanism. We just don't know what that mechanism is. So I never make any guarantees. I never make any promises to people. It's always an experiment. I think it's more about the individual. How is this going to help this individual? And at the risk of misrepresenting Adam Meekins, I took a shoulder class with him at the San Diego Pain Summit, and he validated something that was sort of a guilty secret of mine, is that often I was doing the same thing with people. And he was going through these different conditions, and then the treatment was always the same thing. At a point he said, do you realize that, you know, are you noticing it's always the same treatment? And he said, it wasn't the condition so much as the person. And that's something that I've come to realize is you look at this person in front of you and what is going on with them in general and at this moment. And that's how the treatment gets tailored. So that, like with a bike racer, one guy shows up and he's had too much coffee and he's like this, and he needs to be calmed down a little bit, not too much, you know, because he's got to go out and put out a lot of effort, but he needs to be calmed down just a little bit. And the next guy, he is really fatigued. This is a fourth day of racing and he's tired. And so he kind of needs to be perked up and pumped up. So I think it's more about that. There's a lot of interpersonal interaction there, even if we're focusing on what we think of as a purely physical thing.
Very good. Yeah, without a doubt. There's some lovely comments here happening in the side here. I like this little trio of comments. You ready? So Becky, who's a fantastic therapist here in the UK, she says, I'm just sat here nodding, agreeing with everything. And then Jessica chimes in and says, me too. And then Sarah Jones chimes in and says, me three. So we've got quite a lot of confirmation bias going on in the house. But I know these people, no. But that's fine. That's good because...
Oh, we threw up some shit.
You want to throw up some shit. But sometimes it's really useful for any therapist. And I know myself, because there are periods of doubt and imposter syndrome, and however big you are and however high you sit, it's really useful to hear somebody on the same page as you and reinforcing it, because it is sometimes you wake up thinking, what the hell am I doing? I'm always doing the same treatments. But yeah, and you've made Adam Meekins' day as well. Thank you for making my show now rated 18. Yeah, he's very pleased. You've made his day. Yeah. What I want to do briefly, though, especially for people in the running community, I just want you to, let's do a little game where you're only allowed to talk for 20 to 30 seconds, okay? I'm going to throw something your way. It's going to be a way of just addressing a few misconceptions, because for me, with regards to runners, what I worry about is when massage therapists are using these outdated mechanisms of action. One, the runner's paying for something which, like you say, it's paying for something which isn't actually helping them in the way they think. And two, they could be wasting a lot of time doing something more relative to recovering, like sleeping better or eating better, or you know. Yeah. So whilst they think that the massage therapist is doing something like, I'm going to give you a string of examples, and they could be wasting time. So let's start with some things. There are more things that massage therapists claim and the way they get the person to come back next week. Because they say, well, this is happening, you've got to come back next week. Because, for example, you've mentioned the lactic acid. I'm going to help the lactic acid get out of your system. You've done that. What about things like getting rid of toxins? It's kind of similar to lactic acid, but a lot of runners will go and believe the therapist will say, oh, no, we need to flush out these toxins. You've had a hard race. Talk to me about toxins for 30 seconds.
I don't contradict clients. My colleagues, fair game. Wow, it really depends. If they're sabotaging thinking going on, I'll try to very gently and diplomatically untangle that over time. But mostly I'll just listen for what they really want. You know, it's like what is behind that. So,
but does massage get rid of toxins?
What's that?
Does massage get rid of toxins?
What toxins anyway?
This is the question.
Like, what are they talking about? You think our body is a toxic waste dump?
This is the thing, and I'm not afraid.
Waste is not a toxin.
I am less. I'm less. What's the word? Diplomatic than you, maybe, in this sense. I like runners asking their massage therapists just one question. You say you're getting rid of these toxins. What toxin? Could you name a toxin which you're helping get rid of? And then watch the massage therapist just go, just toxins in your body, build up. Because there's not really, we haven't really got anything that, certainly that massage isn't good. Blood circulation. What about that? Is that a definite no now?
I try to listen and figure out what their thinking is, and then try to find inroads, because I don't want to lose them. You know, I don't want to upset them. I don't want to lose them. And it's more important that I understand. And I just don't want them to have a lot of self-sabotaging ideas. So, like, I had a client came in, and the second time he came to see me, I said, how'd you feel after that last massage? And he said, oh, well, I felt sick for a day or two, you know, about getting rid of these toxins. And I said, oh, well, my massage does not make people sick. He never got sick after that. But with everybody else, he'd been told, massage got rid of toxins, you're going to feel sick the next day. I think, why would anybody go get a massage if it makes them feel yucky?
Drink lots of water.
And I just said, oh, mine doesn't make you sick. And he never got sick. Yay!
It's still taught. I actually have to teach level 3 students to, when it says what home care would you give your client, you have to say, get them to drink lots of water to help flush out toxins, because a lot of examining boards still expect to see that ticked. That's the answer. Wow. And then I tell them, look, like, you've got to tick this to get your certificate, but I'm telling you now, when it's in the real world, no, they shouldn't feel sick the next day, really. You shouldn't, if anything, Would you say it's getting better?
But you know what? Excessive urination, I don't think there's any, outside of, you know, some specific conditions, I don't think there's any therapeutic benefit to it. You know? Like, you just pee a lot, you know, like, woohoo.
Yeah. We talked about DOMS. The circulation thing is interesting. That's another box they have to tick. That massage helps improve circulation. In 30 seconds, could you comment on that? Does massage help improve circulation?
I can do it in like 2 seconds. Who cares? Like, in 28 years, I can get a single massage or a single client who's ever come in and give their reason for massage. I want to improve circulation. Now, you know, somebody told me one time they had a client. I'm sure somebody does every now and then. Like, who cares? But besides that, they're laying still. And if you want to improve circulation, you got to get the heart pumping. And we're getting it to slow down. So think about it. And I think something that misleads people is their skin turns pink. And there's even a sensation, because we've got all these sensory nerves in our skin. But what's happening is that, think about this, sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic, oh God, when I'm on the spot, I get mixed up. Parasympathetic, rest and digest, right? And what happens is the blood is diverted from the muscles to the skin, which is why people get a nice pink glow. Whereas, you know, if they're running, it's all being diverted to their muscles. So you're just moving blood from one place to another. Like, you can't make more blood. It's a closed loop. So tell them to go walk around the block. You know?
Get on my couch. Get off my couch. Get on my couch. Get off my couch. That would be to help their circulation.
Circulation, get out of here.
But I think it's important because runners in particular, there are a lot of therapists who, and I'm not having a go at the therapists. Well, I am kind of in a way, because they need to be keeping up to date with CPD, but they've got a lot of bad CPD in England, like continued professional development. But if you're a runner, if I'm caring just for the runner, and you're going to a therapist who is claiming that the massage is flushing out lactic acid, that they are helping your circulation, that you need to be drinking lots of water afterwards because you've got toxins in your body. As a runner, and I'm forgetting about the therapist because I'm looking after the runner, you really need to actually start thinking, if they not keeping up to date with the latest evidence, how am I going to get the best care when it comes to strength and conditioning, advice, running? Everything else kind of goes out the window. So for the therapist, keep up to date, but for the runner, you got to get out. There's a few checklists I like. I think, who was it the other day? It might have been.
Well, that's a terrible way to be walking around, and I get clients like that. It's like, oh my God, toxins built up, and they're dependent on us to do it. And I realize it's kind of heretical that, you know, my goal isn't to get them to come back every week. You know, for some people, what they may want to get out of it might require some regular stuff for a period of time. But my goal is for them to be able to reach their goals and not be dependent on me. Now, they might choose, just because it makes them feel good and it will help them reach their goals, to work on a regular basis. But my idea of success is not that I get them to come back. My idea of success is they get what they want out of it. If it happens in one session or a couple sessions, woohoo.
Yeah, that's true. But again, some therapists, I don't know about in the States, but in the UK, their business model is based on the traditional idea of every client that comes to the door has got to come back 6 times. That's how you maintain your business. That's how you run it. And it's a very traditional way of guaranteeing the money, but it's slowly breaking down because runners are starting to learn.
This is a dilemma. We have to pay the rent. When you're in a fee for service business model, there is this conflict between our needs and the client's needs. And I don't get off into business stuff much because, to be honest, I'm a terrible business person. Fortunately, I'm good at living frugally. And I do believe, I think, you know what? Okay, so there are people out there who I think are really good models, like Jason Erickson, who I think has built a successful business model and maintaining integrity, you know. And so somebody was asking me about business, I would say, go talk to him. It's just not my area of interest. And so I'm good at living frugally. But here's the thing. If you help people, they'll tell their friends, you know.
Exactly.
People will show up.
We know the long-term strategy doesn't work for getting people to come in. It's like when you say a car salesperson, you know, once you feel stung and they've kicked your wheel and said, oh, that's going to take a lot to repair it or something, then they're going to meet someone along the line and realize that you were playing them, you know, and it's not a long-term strategy. Far better, like you've said, is be honest. If the person doesn't need to see you, unless they want to, then that's great. And I used to make that mistake as a younger therapist. I would say, you don't need to come back. You don't need to come back. Please don't come back. And that person wanted to come back because they actually enjoyed the hour and they needed their hand held for another 3 sessions. So I'm also a very bad business person in that respect. It was only when somebody said, no. At the end of the appointment, say, now, what do you feel? What do you want?
Yeah.
Don't decide for them. Don't come back. You know.
And that's the thing. I will give them my opinion and really leave it up to them and not pressure them. There was a point, and I'm not going to say this was happening with these individuals, but there are a couple of people I saw. They were men who were very, I kind of got this sense that they had to have pain as an excuse to have massage. And I wondered it at a point, because they never got better, but they kept coming back, and it was kind of weird. So I thought, you know, back in there, they may not even be conscious of it, but, you know, their body might be doing this thing. Well, I like doing this thing, but I can only do it when I'm in pain. So therefore, I need to have pain. So when I've had people with chronic pain histories who come in and say, whoa, I really like this, I'll let them know. I say, you know, if you want, you can do this just because you enjoy it. Not that I'm trying to get them to come in, but I'm laying that open that you don't have to be in pain, because I don't want that to be sabotaging. And I've overcorrected too, and I think sometimes sabotage people. So it's like leaving that open, that you don't have to come back. You don't have to be dependent on me. My goal is to help you learn what you can do to keep yourself feeling good. So it's a delicate balance, and it's something that we're constantly, you know, figuring it out as we go along.
I love that. That's really nice.
It never quits.
I love the idea of actually you're saying to someone, you can come back just to enjoy it, because sometimes people need that kind of permission. It's like, it's a really good point.
Yeah.
And we could, and it could break
and
that
that's
kind of,
something we have to offer that physical therapists don't. The physios, they have to be very goal oriented. And I've gotten referrals from PTs that the client really enjoyed seeing them and wanted to keep doing it, and they can't do that. But they'll refer them to me, and they can do that with me if they can come if they want. You know?
Very good. I just want to go back a little bit. There's a couple of questions here. We might have kind of answered them, but a couple of people have picked up on the point. Becky DeMott Horton said that's really interesting that you don't contradict clients. How do you approach giving them an accurate explanation if they have false beliefs? And Sarah Jones kind of follows up that question saying, I was just thinking the same. She thinks she needs to back off a little bit, telling people not to necessarily worry about stretching doesn't have a great reaction. So yeah, have you got any, I mean, obviously it depends on the person in front of you, but any techniques on slowly eradicating beliefs which you think are holding the client back maybe?
I think the really important thing is to listen to the client. And I look for inroads. Because some of those beliefs, they can be very important to them, and they may have gotten them from their doctor, from their physical therapist, from another massage therapist, and I don't want to sabotage those relationships, for one thing. And I don't want to lose them. So I listen. It's more important that I understand than they do. And I look for inroads, that like something that will come up, and asking them questions, and just start finding little places where I can insert some information that I think will be more helpful. And sometimes, like with trigger points, that's a big one. People will ask me about trigger points, and I will take them through my own journey with that. I think I've got a lot of credibility there because I did assist at teaching, at seminars for 10 years and practiced it for 20. And I'm one of the few massage therapists who've actually read Travell's books. So I've got a basis of knowledge and experience. And what I will do when they start asking me, it's like, well, here's the thing that I was originally taught. And then I found out this thing. And so now, the things we used to think about them don't seem to stand up. We don't really know what's going on. People have this phenomenon where they have sore spots. What exactly is going on there? I don't know. I've got kind of a working hypothesis if I need one, but I don't even need one. And so I'll do that because people get very attached and they'll come in and like, oh my God, I'm full of all these trigger points and I need for you to destroy them. And if I say, you don't have any trigger points and I'm not destroying anything, they're like, what? Yeah, so people, it's, believe it or not, I can be diplomatic with people.
Oh, no,
with clients at least.
I can hear that.
With massage therapists, I'm like, you're professional. You should be an adult. Smack them down. I've been smacked down too. But with clients, I really try to look for places. The rare exceptions are when I think someone's going to do themselves harm. And there has been 2 occasions where someone came in and they were exhibiting symptoms and they were engaging in behavior. In one case, it was a really extreme dietary thing that I felt a need to step in and say, listen, I'm really concerned. You've told me this, this, and this. I really want you to see a registered dietitian. And the dietitian confirmed what I suspected. But if they're not hurting themselves, especially if I sense I'm going to get to see them over time, it's just little bit by little bit, build some trust, and really listen to what kind of information do I think, or how do I think the delivery is going to be effective with this particular person,
Very good.
And sometimes it is out in the open because that's the kind of person they are. But I exercise caution because I don't want to lose them.
Very good to hear. And as always, it boils down to listen to the client, and they'll tell you how to tell them, how to educate them. They'll give you the gaps and the
exactly.
Very good. Matt Scarsbrook's
they
come
will
back.
Teach us how to treat them if we listen.
Exactly. Matt Scarsbrook has come back with an interesting point. He says, if we don't help correct the misconceptions, who is going to? Is it any wonder then that the myths persist in therapists? Because it's true, a lot of therapists start off as clients who haven't been corrected by their own therapists, particularly with runners. An awful lot of runners will become therapists and perpetuate what they were given, like cross-frictioning the hell out of Achilles or something, or I don't know, doing. So yeah, who's going to correct it if we don't?
Well, here's the thing: is that in when I say don't contradict clients, it for me it's a process of education over time, and the time that I have might just be this hour. I get people come in who want me to hurt them, and so I will just briefly tell them about the nervous system and it being in control of things, and it's sensitized, and I don't want to add to that. And people get very attached to the intensity of sensation. So I kind of try to compromise, and where I might work with them more heavy-handed than I think is ideal. But I'm kind of meeting them halfway at a point where I don't think I'm going to do any damage. And I liken it to, if somebody's listening to music that's really loud, if you come in and turn the volume way down, it's going to feel to them like they can't hear anything. Whereas if you just keep nudging it down. So it really depends on the person. How important is this thing? How much time do we have? How it boils down to how effective do I think I'm going to be in that moment? And maybe I'm not going to get to be the one that corrects that misconception this time. And I hope I get a chance to, but it's trying to find skillful means.
It's very good. I like that music one. That's very good. That's very good.
Yeah. Try to use skillful means.
I mean, Matt Scarsbrook, really, you chucked a bit of a straw man in there, because we're not saying don't correct the misconceptions. We're just saying take your time and find the plant the seed, and then they see it somewhere else, and then hopefully they listen to a podcast, and eventually it's yeah. Or Matt, you start off your own podcast, maybe Massage Matters. He's starting his own podcast, Massage Matters. Yeah. Him and a couple of others really good professionals.
Experience with an older woman who was heavy into energy stuff, and one day she told me about this weird experience she had, and she thought that her body was extended or something, and then she said, "What do you think about that?" And so here I am, really on the spot, and I said to her, "Well, you know that I come from things from a very science-minded point of view," and I said, the way I would interpret that experience is, and then I did that. So I'm not contradicting her, but she asked me point blank, "What do you think?" And I'm like, I would interpret that experience differently. And I think it's ongoing, just learning to listen to the person and trying to find a skillful way of communicating in that moment, knowing that we're going to be imperfect. And sometimes later on you go, man, like I had a pregnant lady come in one time who didn't want me to massage her ankles because of this thing. And I didn't say anything to her about it. I really wrestled with that because I was afraid that, first of all, if she says, "Don't touch this part of my body," I'm going to respect that no matter what her reason is. And here was the thing. She seemed very attached to that idea, and I don't want to scare her. I really wrestled with that one, and how I to this day, I still have not figured out what I think would have been the best way. I don't think I handled it as well as I would have liked to, but I haven't figured out a script, because my concern is if she walks around believing that something could happen. I get these massage therapists who say, okay, so it doesn't, cause miscarriage or whatever, but I'm going to avoid it anyway, just in case. And I tell them, a lot of times pregnant women, they get really achy and they want you to massage their feet and their ankles and their lower legs. And if you say, no, I'm not going to, what if that woman just happens to be unfortunate enough to have a miscarriage and later thinks, she remembers one time when she had an itch and she rubbed it or she was achy, she could end up thinking that she caused the death of her own child.
Yeah.
And so it is important. Yeah, it's something I think about a lot.
Very good points. Well, look, right, we're getting to 9 o'clock already. There's plenty of chats going on in the comment sections. So a few people are saying, if you ever want to know what it's like for a client when you dismiss one of their beliefs, remember what it felt like when someone told you you weren't breaking down scar tissue or you weren't. It's the same thing, isn't it? Just be human and remember. Some very good points.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why I say I don't want to lose them. Like the people who want me to hurt them, I want to retain them if I can, because otherwise they're going to go out and find somebody who is going to hurt them. And if I have a chance to work with them, it's like meet them part of the way and then maybe show them a different way. Then I think that's a win for both of us.
We've got a good afternoon from Tobago. That's nice, isn't it? Hi, Kerry.
Where? Oh,
Tobago.
Wow.
There you go.
Awesome.
We're just finishing, I'm afraid, Kerry, but thanks for joining us. But you will be able to catch this all on the on YouTube or as a podcast. But thanks for saying hi. Yeah, I don't know what time it is in Tobago, but we started an hour ago. So we're just about to finish now. I'm sorry about that. But I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard. Maybe you have been here the whole time. You've only just said hi now today. So there we go. Right, Alice, it's been beautiful. It's been really, really nice. Your passion and your empathy just is so inspirational, and it just shows to be great at what we do. They're probably the two biggest ingredients, and it's something which a lot of CPD doesn't really teach. So people, I've always said it on this show, if you want to get better at your job, they're the sort of traits which you need to learn about: communication, education, learning, coaching, recognizing different, and all of that stuff. Not what else can I do with my hands? A level 4 or level 5 massage certificate shouldn't be show me better techniques. What can I do? What can I do? No. I've always said that as you move up the levels of massage therapy, it should be less hands and actually saying, you know what? You can use other tools. Greg Lehman always used to say on my course when I hosted the Reconciling Pain and that in Brighton, he said one of the greatest tools a massage therapist has got is his mouth or her mouth, which went down a little bit kind of what he's saying, Greg, pull the plug. But it's true. If you've got someone who's got that confidence to actually let you, exactly. See what I mean there? Thanks, Greg. Another classic. If someone's giving you the permission and confidence to lay hands, then they're really receptive. There's an awful lot of education you can do with this, as opposed to thinking you're doing magical things with these. It's a great point, as always, by Greg. A great point. I think then he showed a picture of his daughter who just had a shitastrophe. So.
What we do has so much potential and is so powerful, and it's so simple. And that's one of the things I've come back to is the basics. It's like we've wanted to get really complicated. And I'm really committed to understanding everything I can about physiology and all this kind of stuff and communication skills. But coming back to the basics, it's just keep it simple. And pay attention to the person. But,
Beautiful.
Because there's different ways of communication. It's not just the words, and I'm very verbal, but still we have to adapt to the client. And for some of them, that may not be the best way to reach them, at least initially. Sometimes it's listening, putting our hands on them, getting their attention that way, and then proceeding from there.
Excellent.
But it's powerful. Touch is powerful. And I'm dealing with this pandemic. It's been rough for me. I've not seen any clients since mid-March, and I don't want to at this point want to do what it would take for me to see clients. It's hard, but but what we do is powerful and it's simple.
Works both ways, doesn't it? You're looking after your client, but sometimes the client's also looking after you by giving you that contact and stuff. So Becky Morton has kind of summed up, I think, what everyone's thinking. Thank you so much, Alice. She says, you inspire me to be better every time I hear you speak. Bless you. Sarah Jones has also said, this is for people listening on the podcast, because obviously you can't see the comments coming up on YouTube, but Sarah Jones has said, this has been so refreshing to hear. Thank you for a great hour of chat and thought-provoking content. Danielle Chandler has come up with, I haven't read this yet, I'm a bit worried. KISS is my favorite mantra. Keep it simple, stupid. That's fine. That's good. I like it. I've read that somewhere before. That's good. Yeah, that's good. And then Tristan is just putting up the hashtag, saves me having to type it. Hashtag shit massage therapist say. Boom. And there's a fist bump there.
I want to hear about shit runners say, but that was subject for another day.
Well, there's an awful lot of that as well. Listen.
This is delightful, and thank you to everybody who's been here with us. And maybe next year we'll all get to be, even if I'm not presenting, I'll just have to come and be there. It just.
My plan for next year in my mind, my plan next year already is the speakers who are speaking this October, just if we can, over to England, let's do it again. But that's what was supposed to happen this year. So hopefully it will be a case of 2021. But you are coming to speak online with us at the end of October. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So I'm pleased that you're still sticking around and able to join us online. So thank you very much for that. Really looking forward to it.
My internet's getting working there.
And the exciting thing as well is when we do the question time.
Thank you so much.
No, that's fine. When we do the question time in the afternoons, we're still going to have 10 speakers on Zoom, and then the people watching will be able to fire questions. So I'll just be sitting back thinking, now I've got a massage therapist up there sharing the stage with the other speakers. So my job is done. I can tick that box off. And then someone will say, why haven't you got a Reiki healer or something? Or why haven't you got a channeler? I know it'll go on forever. But at least I've got a massage therapist in there. So Alice, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate giving up your time. What I'm going to do now is...
Thank you to you. Thank you to everybody.
I'm just going to send you back down to the lobby just while I say goodbye to people.
Okay.
But if you have to go, then go. But otherwise, stick around and then I'll come and say bye to you myself.
Yes, right. I have no appointments. Great.
Speak to you very soon. Thank you, Alice Sanvito. Oh, wasn't that fantastic? That was lovely. That was better than I even imagined. And I was already having high aspirations. I knew it was going to be good. Thanks for some great questions, people. Such an inspirational person. Really, really pleased that she's joining us at Runchatlive conference. I wish, oh, damn it. I wish I had brought her to Brighton. That was the initial plan, because as you've seen, those of you watching YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, then do yourself a favor and check out what Alice is like visually, because it's not just the tiara, it's not just the poop scoop, it's not the purple dress, it's the whole package. It's the face, the hands, the communication, it's everything together that creates that inspiration that Becky was talking about. So do yourself a favor, if you're a podcast listener, then pop over to YouTube when this is up and watch the show. And you'll get to know Alice better than just listening, although listening will be fine, but you'll get to know even more. Right, people, that's about it for now. I think just to let you know, I'm finalizing next week. I don't think there is a guest. I don't think so. I haven't checked. I meant to do that because I've got to really finalize now. It's only a month away for the conference. I've got to kind of finalize where it's going out to. I'm pretty sure where it's going to go to, and we're revealing that in a week. I'm very excited about the website it's going to appear on. I've got to sort out this simultaneous translation in Spanish so that my South American friends can actually watch all of these fantastic speakers with simultaneous translation, which I'm very excited about as well. And a few other things that I've got to work out. So I've got a few meetings for that, but within a week's time, links will start getting sent out. You'll know where it's going to appear. There'll be some more details about things I'm doing during the day to make it as live as possible. I'm guaranteeing there's none of this pre-recorded stuff with a speaker sitting there watching and answering questions. No. My speakers will be making mistakes. They'll be getting out poop scoops when they're not needed to. It will be live 100% because it's Runchatlive. It's not Runchat. Let's stick another presentation on which we recorded earlier and pump it out. No, not here. Thank you. Not on my shift. So tickets are still there for sale. If you need a discount of some form, then email me. I'll find a way to get you 20% off. you're bound to be connected to somebody, and I'll chuck you a discount. Okay, I want you to come. So if you've got any problem paying the amount, then just email matt@runchatlive.com, and we'll find a way to make it easy for you, so that everyone can come along. Right, thanks people, thanks for joining us. So I don't think we're back next week. If I made a mistake, I'll stick it on social media. So once again, thanks for joining us, and thank you for Alice Sanvito for being such a fantastic guest. And we will speak to you very soon. Take care and look after each other. You're listening to Runchatlive podcast, putting the evidence back into running injury and performance.